Welcome to the channel. Thank you for joining me beside the pool here at the Club Wyndham Patriots Place in Williamsburg, Virginia. My last video was kind of a book report on the book called Who Not How. And I can't even see the screen. The sun is right in my eyes, so hopefully my head is in it and I'm somewhat centered. But anyway, that was titled Every Who Needs a Who. I'm also today going to use something I learned from Dr. Hardy's book. I have returned the audio version, back to the library because somebody was waiting. And anyway, I started on the something of Naval Ravikant. I want to call it the journal, but it begins with an A. Almanac of Naval Ravikant, who is a angel investor out in California and has invested in Uber, invested in lots of things when they were small. A very wealthy man who is very wise, but came from humble roots. But I wanted to talk today about us overthinking our health decisions. And how does that apply to Who Not How? Well, Dan Sullivan, who was the mind behind the concept of Who Not How, he used Dr. Hardy as his who to write the book, and Dr. Hardy used Dan as a who to get educated. So maybe that helps clarify last week's video a little bit better. And I'm using him as a who to talk about this concept. But between each chapter, because it was an audiobook, Dr. Hardy and Dan Sullivan had a interview, conversation, something like that. Let me make sure this is recording. It is, yeah. I can't see the time, but anyway, so this may be longer than usual, but Dan Sullivan runs a course called Strategic Coach. It's not really a course, it's more of a network. It's a, what do they call those things? Mastermind kind of thing, where you pay money and you join, and then you get to network with other people that pay just as much money and kind of form a network of ideas you can bounce off each other, which is supposed to propel you into higher success. Yeah, I got my wristband on. I didn't even have to get ornery about it. I think I'm going to take it off so it doesn't distract in the video. I will say the concierge here. Oh good, the sun's going a little bit behind the building over there. I'm not quite as blind as I was. Hopefully you're enjoying the view. I don't have much of one since I can't see, which is okay. But anyway, Dan is now the premier coach of entrepreneurs pretty much in the country, maybe in the world. I don't know for sure. He's right up there with the best of them. And every time a new person joins the group, he has a discussion with them. And that discussion is the topic of this video today, because I want you to answer the questions with me and then see if maybe you're trying to think a little too deeply or too hard about what is actually happening with your health. He says, I've asked this to thousands of people and they all pretty much have the same answer. So I'm not going to expect that your answer will be a whole lot different, but it's the concept, not the answer, that's important. Now I can see I've been talking for 4 minutes now that the sun has given me a break. I'm probably not as bright on screen either. But anyway, the first question is, how old do you expect to be when you die? I want you to think about that for a minute, and if you feel like it, stop and write a comment down below to how long you expect to live, I guess is a better way to put it. How old do you think you'll be at the end of your life? He said most people said 85. He said, okay, we'll go with 85. But see, the point is that you now have a deadline, you have a target. It doesn't matter what the number was, you have a target. And so let's take that target and back it up a year. And then he asked people, how do you expect to be living your life 1 year before that target date? And he says, everybody says I'm going to be sharp as a tack, I'm going to be healthy, I'm going to be enjoying life, I'm going to have financial resources to do what I want to do. I'll have my health, wealth, and freedom of life, where I can do what I want. Okay. Everybody answers that way. I mean, and when I shared this with my dad, he's like, well, then they're probably not going to die in a year, which is the next question. He says, so if you really are that way 1 year before you die, what's the likelihood that you're going to die the next year? They all say, not very likely. I'd probably live many more years. So then his next question is, well, if you're going to live many more years, how many more years are you going to live? So what would your answer to that be? The general answer that Dan got was 10 to 15 years. He goes, okay, so is it 10 or is it 15? What would you answer to that if you were given an option? Obviously, nobody, there's a kind of a joke that goes around that said, all the Christians want to go to heaven, they just don't want to go today. Or I guess it says everybody wants to go to heaven, but nobody wants to go today. But if you're not a Christian, you probably, I don't know if you believe in heaven or not, so I added Christians in. But anyway, everybody always answers 15 and says, okay, so if you're going to live another 15 years, what are you doing today to ensure that when you get to that 1 year before your target date, that you have 10 or 15 years left? And see, that's the catch. You have to think now, well, I have a target date, but I want to extend it 15 years. It could be 10, whatever number you chose, but anyway, you want to extend it. And you don't want to be, most likely, you don't want to be bedridden during that time. You don't want to be wheelchair bound. So if you're 40, 50, 60 now, what are you doing today that will get you that extra 10 or 15 years? And that's going to be a personal decision for each and every one of you. I cannot tell you what you will or won't do. I don't know your current health situation. I probably should have said, I'm Chip, this channel CP59 Fit. There should be a red, white, and blue button over there. You can click on that if you want to subscribe and support me in that way, but commenting and liking also helps a whole lot to get the YouTube algorithm to send my videos out to more like-minded people. And I'd really appreciate that. Would be a thumbs up from me if you can do one or all of those things. If you've already are a subscriber, thank you, welcome. I noticed somebody just signed up 2 or 3 days ago after the last video, so welcome if you're watching this. And Alex in, where'd you say you were? Korea? Welcome. Thank you for commenting on all the different videos. But let's get back to the, and why I make these videos is that August 5th of 2015, I had a serious stroke that should have been fatal. So I say I'm living on extra innings, which I'm getting very close to my 10-year anniversary. I'm a whole lot closer to my 60th birthday than I am to my 10-year anniversary. That is next month. The 10-year anniversary is 4 months after that in August. 10-year, not 10 month. I'm 1 month from my 60th birthday, which I almost died at 50. So some of these questions are very relevant to me. So what are some of the things I've done personally to get me healthier at 60 than I was at 50 when I almost died? Well, I have cut out most plant products. I almost exclusively eat animal products. There's a big debate on whether honey is an animal product or not, which technically bees are in the animal kingdom. And some other carnivore guy somebody asked me, said, oh, of course it's from a bee, so it's good. And I disagree with that. I said it was bee vomit, and it's actually baby. It's like breast milk for baby bees, if bees had breast milk. But he came back with, no, it's not. It's made in an organ in the bee, so I don't know. We drink breast milk from cows, I guess, if you want it. My problem with honey is it's mostly fructose, and I'm getting ready to make a video on the evils of fructose. That stuff will kill you quicker than probably just about anything. So I'm going to say, even though bees vomit out honey or secrete it or whatever they do, it's actually food for baby bees. All babies need a whole lot more energy. In fact, human breast milk has a lot of fat in it. That's why babies are in ketosis. You may not have thought of that, but anyway, you have to decide what you want to do. if you're going to extend your life 10 or 15 years. So if we start at 85 and we're going 15, that's 100. You think you can live to 100? If so, I will say this: you have to decide what goes in here every time you pick up something. You don't have to go by what the media says is healthy. You have to go by what your body says is healthy and how you feel the best, and what gives you the least amount of pain, the least amount of inflammation, and the greatest amount of energy and strength. I'm not an example of this yet, but I haven't been 100% or strict much either. I've been carnivore about 4 years, and I think I was keto about 2 years prior to that. And I have lost a lot of weight. I'm down almost 60 pounds, in the ballpark of 60 pounds. I might be on second or third base at this point, but it doesn't really show. I'm not slim and trim and muscular, but some people do get that way when they only eat meat. I don't know. I haven't seen any 60-year-old carnivores that were well defined muscularly. So maybe that's a bar I should have had when I was 30 instead of pushing 60. I've said in many of these videos, I'm never going to look like an Instagram model. Of course, I'm not willing to do what they're willing to do, and I don't have the metabolism or mindset that a 20-year-old influencer has. I'm trying to keep you alive to 100, not to get you 100,000 subscribers or whatever they call them, followers on Instagram. 1,000 subscribers on YouTube would make me really, really happy. But if I affect 1,000 people's lives, I'll be even happier if this stupid channel never pays me a penny. If you somehow do get something from these videos and you live another 10 or 15 years, that will be a reward enough for me. Yes, I'm able to travel. I sold a house 3 years ago now, right in the middle of the pandemic, and I'm still living off of that money. So this channel has a couple more years to get what they call monetized. But like I say, if that doesn't happen by then, I'll be eligible for Social Security. I think it's 63 and something, or right around 63 when I can get the early, or 67. But honestly, my Social Security, I'm hoping I can make as much through this channel as I can make through Social Security in the long run. So by 2, 3, 7 years, however long it is before I start drawing Social Security, I hope this channel is making, whether it's through trips or courses or conventions or just YouTube paying me because you have to watch the ads, I hope it about equals my Social Security income, which I think at this point is projected to be about $1,300 a month, which you can't live on that in this country. But anyway, that's another thing I want to say is when you're thinking about goals, you need to think in decades, not in pounds or inches or days or weeks. Where are you going to be a decade from now, and how are you going to be living life then? And think about that every time you pick up. They had cookies here when I checked in, and I got several of them. I hadn't eaten all day, but I did end up going to the Golden Corral across the street for the Sunday night buffet, which is probably the most expensive one they have. But they did have sirloin steak on the grill, which I prefer a fattier cut. But of course they had butter and other stuff I could put on it. I almost went over there today for the early bird from 2 to 4 because I learned it's $6 cheaper if you go from 2 to 4 than if you go from 4 to closing, which I think is 10 or 11. So since I think it's that way, you go out and then right and right, and it's just across the road. The place I stayed, was it Christmas we were down here? I think it was Christmas last year. Me and a friend from Warrenton and the lady that I had rented from, who lives in Texas but has the farm, we all came down for the grand illumination I'm thinking that was 23, not 24. I think it was the year my mother died. But anyway, we stayed at the next Wyndham property down called Kingsgate. Anyway, the Golden Corral is on the road from here to there, so not real far. I may go down there tomorrow because I did buy corned beef yesterday for St. Patrick's Day. Is that celebrated the same day all around the world? If it is, happy belated St. Patrick's to everybody in the world. If it's not, happy belated to the ones in America. But I went to Aldi and got it. It was $3.89 a pound. Hamburger's more expensive than that, and I do love corned beef, so I bought about 3.5 pound one, put it in a pot, cooked it on the stove about 4 hours, and ate the great majority of it last night. So I better go get another one today. I get over, they didn't have any, not one single one. So while at Food Line have at I think they were 3 cents or 4 cents a pound more. $3.99 a pound was, but of course it's Tuesday, so the sales changed. I got there, they were $4.99 a pound. I said, nah, I'll go back to Aldi and get the $1.99 a pound ham. And I'll have to find something to add to it to make it fattier. Or maybe I'll just cut the fat off and grill that up like bacon. Like I say, I have money, but I'm not really keen on spending it. I am keen on getting information out. Anyway, when I went back to Aldi, they had 4 or 5 packages of corned beef, so I got a small ham. I think it's 6 pounds, and almost 4 pounds of corned beef. So I'll have 10 pounds for the next of meat. There is 4 of beef. I'd rather have the beef than the pork because cows are not monogastric. They have, I think, 4 stomachs, so they get rid of the toxins better than monogastrics, which are pork and chicken. So those are things you got to think about if you're planning to live to be 100 or more. In fact, there's a reference in the Bible that 120 years is a good life or average life. Of course, apparently in Noah's time they lived to like 600. I'm not aiming for 600, even if I'm still healthy. But I could take 100, 105, whatever works out to be. I'm not saying I'm going to make it there, because there is such a thing as damage already done, and you can't always reverse it. But if you can stop damaging it by changing what you put in here, then you might make it a little longer than that original target date you came up with. And I'm going to stop rambling. The sun's going down. I got to make the little Instagram blurb. The 3-minute one. YouTube might, I guess if I made shorts on YouTube, they would have to be less than 3 minutes. But anyway, thanks for watching. Appreciate you. Have a great day. Bye-bye.